All right, in this video, we're going to look at selecting a character and see if we can get that part working. So I've still got this open here, and I'm actually going to close this so I can maximize my code space, and I've got it open in a separate window here. So I just have to switch tabs to test things out. But the main idea here is I want to be able to click on each of these images, and I'll change the border so it shows which one is highlighted, and then have that stored in a variable as well, so that when I do click the fish button, it'll know that, hey, I want to, what character I use, right? I can check that variable to see who's doing the fishing. Okay, so let's start by adding, well, actually what we should look at first is that red border. I'm adding that red border by adding a class called active. Okay, so if you go to style.css, we've got this character image first of all, and actually something I'm going to add quickly is a cursor pointer, so it's clear that when I hover over the image, I think that should work. Let's try that. Hit refresh, and yeah, now when I hover over these character images, it shows a pointer, so it makes it clear that they're clickable, just like the buttons. Okay, anyway, so I've got this active, which is, yeah, border 2 pixels solid red. Normally the image will have 2 pixels solid gray. So we've learned how to modify the HTML. I think that was an output here, where we can change the inner HTML, the source, the style. There's also a way to change what classes are applied to a thing, and there's a class list, and you can do class list. Actually, let's check W3 Schools here. And I'm just going to do a quick search here for class list. Element.ClassList. We'll see what that is. Yeah, here we go. So .ClassList.add, and I think it should tell us that there's a .add, a contains, a .remove, and a toggle. Okay, so we can add classes, remove classes, and toggle classes. So we'll make use of that. And basically it's select the element, do that .ClassList, and then do the .add or .remove, and then whatever the name of the class goes in here. Okay, so let's look at that back here. And first thing I'm going to do is add event listeners to these images. Okay, so I've got all these variables here. Let's add our event listeners. So I'm going to go Steve image element dot add event listener, and we'll just do a click event, and I'll say select Steve. So that'll be a function called select Steve, like so. Right, so when I click the Steve image, I'm going to run this function. Awesome. And maybe what I'll do quickly, just let's take this active class and add it to Alex. And then what we'll do, okay, so now that class is added to Alex, and you can actually see that if you inspect the elements, I think, too. Anyway, yeah, it would be down in the styles. You can see the active class is applied. Okay, and back to my JavaScript. Sorry, I'm jumping around here. What I want to do here is, let's first update active border. So I'm selecting Steve, so I want to go Steve image element dot class list, right? Capital L, class, capital L list. And I want to add, because I'm selecting Steve, I want to add the active class. And then the Alex image element dot class list, I simply want to remove the active class. Okay, so that should just swap them. And I'm going to copy and paste this. And I'm actually going to, ooh, I just had an idea. Okay, hold on. We'll see. I'm going to do this for now, but I just had an idea. And I'm going to now have a function called select Alex. And I'll have the Alex image element. And we'll do select Alex. And this time I want the Steve image element to remove active because I'm selecting Alex. And the Alex, we're going to add the class active to the list of classes. Okay, let's see if this works. I have to hit refresh here. So if I hit Steve, yay, and Alex, yay. Okay, awesome. Okay, and I realized I had an idea of combining these functions into one function and just using the toggle, right? That it would toggle. Toggle basically says if it has active, it'll remove it. If it doesn't have active, it'll add it. But I need to do more than this. I need, I'm going to have another comment here for global variables. And these are program variables that I need to have access to in multiple functions. And I need to have a variable called character. And I'm actually going to just leave it unassigned for now. Oh, no, I'm going to initialize it to Steve. And we'll initialize the active class back to Steve as well. Okay, so initially Steve is selected. And then if I select Alex, not only do I want to update the active border, I want to update my character selection variable. Not variable, and that's going to say character is assigned Alex. And of course, if the character is Alex and I hit select Steve, I'm just going to copy and paste here. And we're going to say character is assigned Steve. Okay. Now be careful here. Don't do let character be assigned Steve, right? We've already declared character as a variable. That's what let does. It tells JavaScript, let there be a variable called character and initialize it to this. If you go let here, it's actually going to make a new variable called character that just lives inside of this function. We don't want to use let. We want to tell JavaScript, I'm not making a new variable. Look for an existing variable called character, which is this global variable, and change its value. Okay, good. And now to test this, let's add another event listener to my fish button. So fish button element. Add event listener, click, and I'll just call this fish once, because that's the idea. It's going to simulate fishing once. So I'll put that down here. Oh, usually I have a comment here to event functions, right? Here's my event listeners, and here's all the functions that are associated with those event listeners. So function fish once, and all I'm going to do here is I'm just going to alert character. Okay, that's that variable. I just want to test that variable. Okay, so when I click on either image, it should update the class, that active class, so it shows which one is selected, and it should also update this variable. When I click the fish button, it'll alert whatever character is currently selected. Phew, let's see if this works. So, well, let's just try it right now. Fish. Oh, I have to hit refresh. Woo, wrong page. Here we go. Hit refresh. If I hit fish, awesome, it alerts Steve. I click Alex and the class changes. I hit fish and it's Alex. Let's go click Alex again. Still works. Let's click Steve. Still works. Okay, awesome. So we've got that selection going on. And I'll add one more thing, I think, before we move to the next one, is in this fish ones, I can now do an if statement. You know, test current character. And I could very simply do a binary, right? It's either going to be Steve or Alex. So I can say if character is equal to Steve, then I'm going to just say alert fish with Steve. And then I could have in this case, there's only two possibilities. So I guess I could just use an else. I might add an activity later. I think I have an image in here of a villager, right? So there's a villager here. So something that you might do as an extension is you could add a villager and have a third option for a character. Anyway, but in this case, I'm just doing the two. So I could do like else if character equals Alex, and that would be totally fine, but it would be unnecessary because there's only going to be two possibilities. So I could just keep it simpler and do an else. We'll say fish with Alex. Okay, let's test that out. So I hit fish, fish with Steve, good. Select Alex, fish with Alex, awesome. So now all I need to add to my code is in here, use Steve probability distribution for fishing. And then when I'm in here, we'll use the Alex probability distribution that we talked about here. Okay, and we'll set that up in the next video where we'll generate that random number and test it. Okay, hope that made sense. Take care, and we'll see you in the next video.